Hello.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining the fourth annual We the Young People Voter Assistance Advisory Committee hearing. During tonight's hearing, we will be offering a number of accessibility services. Uh, First, there will be live ASL interpretation on the screen throughout the hearing. Second, there will be live CART transcription. That means it's going to be typed up by a person as speakers are speaking. And third, there will be Spanish interpretation available for those that prefer to listen to tonight's hearing in Spanish. You can access the Spanish language interpretation by clicking on the globe icon on the bottom of the Zoom screen that says interpretation and selecting the Spanish option. Uh, with that, I will turn it over to our VAAC chair, João Torres. Thank you.
I think I just got disconnected and reconnected again. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Zoya. We can hear you.
Good, because I got connected. So where are we at? Are we at my introduction?
Yes, I think we can probably, what do you think, Livia? I think we can wait another 2 minutes.
Yes, I think let's give it another 2 minutes because I know we're missing a few members.
Right. So it's 5:34 right now. Maybe give it until 5:36.
That sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute.
Okay.
All right, just going to reiterate the announcement from a bit earlier about the accessibility options available this evening. First, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening at the 4th annual We the Young People Voter Assistance Advisory Committee hearing. My name is Omar Suarez. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Outreach for the New York City Campaign Finance Board. I use he, him pronouns, and just to provide a brief audio description of myself, I'm a tan-skinned man of African, Spanish ancestry. I have black and white hair, and I'm wearing a light blue shirt and gray headphones. This evening, we will be offering ASL interpretation on screen throughout the hearing. For those that are deaf or hard of hearing, we will also have live CART transcription available, which is also available on the screen. You can turn the captions on by selecting the live interpretation of the live transcription icon on the bottom of your menu. And we will also have Spanish interpretation available by selecting the globe icon on the bottom of your Zoom screen and selecting the Spanish option. And with that, I will turn it over to our VAAC chair, Zoilo Torres, to get us started. Thank you all.
Great. Can everyone hear me, first of all? Yes? Good.
Yes, we can.
Great, great, great. Yes, my name is Zoilo Torres, and I'm the chair of the Voter Assistance Advisory Committee. I'm Puerto Rican of African descent, born and raised in New York City, and full-time New Yorker. I would like to welcome everyone to today's meeting. It's an important meeting because it features our young people, and we want to hear from our young people foremost this evening. The meeting will be conducted by our youth ambassadors. We want to hear from our young people this evening. And as you all know, we are in the midst of and it's currently taking place, and we'll go through Sunday. Can log into nycvotes.org. And at this point, well, as you all know, the primary is now include voting for Congress and State Senate. To observations by any member of the committee that has logged in. So if anyone in the committee would like to speak, now is the time to do so. Going once.
I'd be happy to jump in, Zoilo. Hi, I'm Christopher Malone. I am
twice, going 3 times. Okay, good.
There's a little bit of a lag. I
Go
hope
ahead.
everyone can hear me.
Yes,
Okay.
I could hear you.
Good. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Christopher Malone. I'm a member of the VAAC. I was appointed in April 2020 by Mayor de Blasio, then Mayor de Blasio, I am the Associate Provost at Farmingdale State College, a campus of the SUNY system, and I'm a political scientist by training. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a middle-aged man of European descent with graying hair, clear rimmed glasses, and I'm sitting in my office at Farmingdale with a bunch of posters on the wall behind me. I just want to say that I think, this is what the 4th annual presentation, and this is probably one of our favorite events because it really is a hopeful event and an informative event. And as a political scientist who has taught about American politics and government and civic engagement for now 25 years, goodness, the importance of civic knowledge, civic participation, civic engagement amongst youth is, we talk about that as, a good in and of itself, but it's just necessary for democracy because an uninformed citizenry leads to really bad things. And it's not to say that an informed citizenry will create a perfect democracy, but it's an essential ingredient in our representative system of government. And so this is just a great night and a celebration. So I'm looking forward to the presentations and the conversation. And I thank all of y'all for being here.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else on the VAC like to share some words before we get started? Okay, perfect.
I had some technical problems here. I got disconnected for a little while. I was making comments. I want to Olivia. Olivia, you got the floor.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Brady. I use she and they pronouns, and I'm the Youth Engagement Coordinator for NYC Votes. I am a young white woman. I have brown curly hair. I have round wire framed glasses, and I'm wearing a brown shirt and standing in front of a white wall. Again, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us for our 4th annual We the Young People VAC hearing. I can't believe it's the 4th time we've done this. And tonight is really a special night to honor the voices, perspectives, and experiences of young New Yorkers. And their testimony is really important in helping us shape and inform the youth outreach that we do going forward. I just want to take a few minutes to highlight the way we have expanded our youth work over the past several years and to honor the work that the ambassadors have done. But again, over the last 4 years, NYC Votes has tremendously expanded our youth outreach. We've added curriculum offerings that include local history lessons on Robert Moses, the Young Lords, and Shirley Chisholm. We've implemented a paid Train the Trainer for young people in the South Bronx to get their peers registered. And this year alone, between staff and ambassadors, we've trained over 1,000 young people, which is just incredible. I'm so proud of the ambassadors. And what I'm most proud of the agency and the work that we've done is really the way that we've grown the ambassador program. It started as a summer volunteer opportunity in 2020 to get young people engaged over Zoom ahead of the presidential election. And now we have a full-blown 9-month paid leadership development course. And this year we piloted in-person programming. And we know youth voter turnout is abysmally low. But in order to change that, what we have had conversations about and what we've heard from young people is that we need to shift the culture of how we educate young people about civics and voting. And so this program is really designed not only to give young people the information they need about voting and elections to take back to their communities, but also to help them engage with voting and local government on a much deeper level. So this year's ambassadors participated virtually in Zoom meetings in the spring months. And then when summertime started, they transitioned to 2 days a week of in-person learning. Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. I just see that you have your hand raised. Oh, all
No,
good.
no, no, after you finish, no, finish your spiel. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw your flow off. Sorry, Olivia.
No worries at all. So we were able to transition to 2 days a week of in-person learning, with Wednesdays at the office and Thursdays taking a field trip. And we have truly covered, I think, the entire scope of all New York City local politics. We've talked about redistricting, street vendor advocacy, composting, the budget, the Stonewall riots, and even urban planning. And some of the field trips we've taken have included the Museum of the City of New York. We took a urban planning walking tour of Red Hook, and we also visited the museum at Eldridge Street. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we were able to cover. And what's been amazing about this is ambassadors have been able to draw on all of this city history and policy that we've learned to, one, articulate the challenges that young people are experiencing now. And now they have this language where they can foster really authentic conversations with their peers about why voting, and also taking a step further and really getting involved with your local government, whether it be through city agencies, through your elected officials, through local organizations, why that is so important. And something I'm especially proud of is the way that our office has really addressed the need for equitable youth programming. This has been truly at the core of our expansion, and we've really met that by understanding the importance of providing material benefits like payments, Metro cards, lunch stipends, snacks, the things that we really need to provide to make sure that we're reaching the young people who need our messaging most. The ambassadors have been just so amazing. They've worked all summer to plan this event, and in addition to hearing from testifiers, they'll also be presenting their final research projects. And many of our testifiers today also represent our partner organizations. So we're just so proud of everyone and so excited to hear from them. I will stop talking in just a second, but I do want to take a minute to thank all of the staff who have just made this possible, to the VAAC, to the chair. I just want to, again, thank you for granting us this space to host this somewhat unorthodox city government hearing. It's so important to have spaces like this for our young people. And Amy in particular, I really want to thank you for all of your support of the ambassador program. You've been a champion for our youth work, and I'm just beyond grateful to you for these opportunities. To my partnerships and outreach team, Omar, Gori, and now Luke, it takes a village to get out the vote and do the work that we do, and so thank you. Matt Sollers, again, you always go above and beyond in helping the ambassadors have access to media opportunities, which is something really unique that we do, and thank you. The policy and research team has also been amazing. Jamie and Luigi actually trained the ambassadors, put together special trainings for them. Turquoise came in to talk to them about some city issues, and Ray has been attending many of the field trips, so very grateful to them. And also Allie has did a lot of workshops around redistricting. And then finally, I would just want to shout out the marketing and digital comms team, especially Natalia, who worked with the ambassadors to train them in social media to promote the hearing. And yeah, again, I'm so much gratitude for the CFB, and super excited to hear from everyone this evening. So just for a quick run of show, we're going to start, as is tradition, with a performance from the Urban Word NYC YPL, Elizabeth Schwartz. She's also one of our youth ambassadors this year. We're then going to do an interactive trivia game with a prize, and then we'll move into presentations and a mix of presentations and testimony. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and play.
Before you start,
sorry,
Olivia,
Amy.
can I just say something? Okay. Thank you, Olivia. I'm Amy Lopez. I'm the executive director of the Campaign Finance Board. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white woman who is balding but wearing a black headscarf, and I have a black shirt dress on, and I'm sitting behind a yellow wall with a bookcase behind me. I just wanted, Olivia is modest and she thanked everyone. And I didn't want to leave without saying that really without Olivia's incredible hard work and dedication to the youth programming, we would not have had this program. And the way she has expanded our youth programming during her tenure as youth voter coordinator is just phenomenal. And her endless amount of energy that she brings to the program is just amazing. So thank you very much, Olivia. I always enjoy this hearing. It is like one of the best to hear from young people, really from where they are. They are the people who will be the future leaders. And so I'm really happy that we have this program and that we afford this opportunity for them to speak. Just in case, because I think that Zoya Chachoyer's feed was breaking up a little bit, I just want to remind people that we are in the midst of the election for state Senate and US Congress. You can find information about the candidates at nycvotes.org, where our online voter guide lives. So just a quick reminder of that. And now I'll let Olivia take it away.
Thank you very much, Amy. And without further ado, let's hear from our ambassador and the New York City Youth Poet Laureate.
In my dreams, I am King Midas, specter, sinner, saint. If I'm just another spectator, so be it. I swallow sunbeams. Slick lips revel in the golden glut of bustling streets. Here, they've unclenched their fists. Let the cobblestones clatter to the ground. This is the type of city that burns its maps. A firework is a fickle attempt to bottle miracles, but can't we say we tried? Can't we say the mosaics here were beautiful? Iridescent, irradiate, iris, each shade of paint used once, 3 coats fresh, but we're still going. Are you going to watch the fireworks tonight? Take your shoes off by my doorstep and stay until the dawn cracks us a smile. Stay every night until you too learn to look for paradise within the pavement. If this block were mine, I'd cradle it. All tarp-swallowed, termite-ridden, suckling on the runoff from the American dream. We're going through a drought because they treated the neighbor's pool water with chlorine before they filled our sippy cups at lunch. If this block were mine, I'd let it go. Untether its arms from the HOA's grip until they stop letting paradise slip through their fingers and back again through the cracks and crevices with cement. And instead of bulldozing the bodegas for the celery juice station or the karate dojo for the soul cycle, swap the school desks for stages. Keep the children's playground, keep the pierogies and ponchiki. America promises alimony, but we reschedule the court date until our pavement is the paradise we deserve. Screw anyone who says the smog is still part of our landscape. This landscape does not need your latex gloves. Here, we do not sanitize our routes for the inspectors, for the tenants, for the pedestrians peeking in our windows as if to say, how dare we be Sri Lankan, Sicilian, Soviet strong? And yes, this is still Staten Island. Do not apologize for the cigarette ash or chipped R's. Our parents had no choice but to sharpen their tongues to the tune of standard American English. So shut your mouth before you claim this block as your own. If this block were mine, I tear the crabgrass stalk by stalk before it chafes another knobbly knee. Before the overgrowth curtains away our sidewalk sunbeams and hopscotch tiles, they say we should draw solid, draw straight, draw the first number that comes to mind the gap between the pothole and the picket fence. In my dreams, I am King Midas. Specter, sinner, saint, someday what I touch will turn to gold. Together, we'll make these pavements paradise.
Again, thank you so much to Liz for sharing her work with us. We have a wonderful partnership with Urban Word, and that's really been a cornerstone of the ambassador program. So now we're going to go ahead and move into a trivia quiz game that the ambassadors wanted to incorporate. They came up with the questions using data from our voter analysis report and community profiles. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly to open that up. Okay. Excellent. So at the top of the screen, you can see where it says if you go to menti.com and you can play from your phone and use the code 17133949. Please put your full name in because the top 3 winners from today will reach out to them for your email address so that we can send you a little NYC Votes swag bag with some voter registration forms and fun giveaways. So I'll give it a few seconds for folks to log in. Ambassadors, you wrote the question, so make sure you do not join. That would give you an unfair advantage. Okay, I don't see anyone else coming on. I'm going to say last call. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the game. I think you can join while we're still playing. Okay, so what is the turnout rate for the general election in 2021? Awesome. So a lot of people got that one right. Just under a quarter of New Yorkers turned out to choose our mayor in 2021. Awesome. Okay. What is the median age for an active voter in New York City? I'll wait for everyone to put their answers in. I'll give like 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the correct answer is 47. That means the median age of an active voter who are choosing policies, laws, decisions for our city is 47. What is the turnout rate for the mayoral primary election in 2021? Awesome. Yes, that is correct. So 26.5% of people turned out in the primary election. So again, just around a quarter of New Yorkers are voting in these really vital local elections. What percent of the population of New York City commutes to work on public transit? So 56.6% of New Yorkers are commuting just a quick update to the leaderboard. Awesome. It looks like Anissa. Oh, yeah, Anissa, Jamie, and Nashu. What percentage of New Yorkers have a commute longer than 1 hour? (26.1%). And so we also know that longer commute times are also intrinsically linked to factors like race, socioeconomic status, and we also know that those are driving factors in predicting voter turnout for certain groups. What is the voter registration rate in New York City? So weirdly enough, we have a very high voter registration rate, but very low voter turnout. What is the percentage of naturalized citizens of voting age in New York City? So just a quick definition, naturalized citizens are people who immigrated here and then got their citizenship. (32%). And so this is 32% of New Yorkers who are eligible to vote and have a very low voter registration rate. Awesome. So it looks like Jamie's in first place, followed by Anissa and then Brianna. Please feel free to send a chat or email me your information so that I can mail you your package. I will drop my email in the chat for everyone to see. But yeah, thank you so much for playing our little quiz game. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our first ambassador group that's presenting. So you're going to hear from Jessica Isabor, Redwana Ahmed, Gia Crespo, and Shema Alnadash. They researched the state of civic education in high schools. So once again, I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for bearing with me through all the screen sharing. And I will pass it over to the four of them to give their presentation.
Hi, this is Redwana Ahmed. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm currently sitting in front of like windows, and behind me is my closet, and on my left side there is a lamp, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt with blue like a slip-on dress. And today we are presenting high school data research. I'm Redwana, and my following would be my friends who like worked on it, so they'll introduce themselves.
Oh, are we introducing ourselves right now? Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Jessica Isabor. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. I'm currently in front of a like kitchen setting. I have a fridge and a sink next to me. I'm an African American woman. I have black locks. I'm wearing a black vest and a white shirt underneath it. And
my name is Gia Crespo. I'm currently in front of like a beige ivory colored wall, and I'm a young Hispanic woman. I have black slick back hair and a dark colored shirt. My pronouns are she, her.
Awesome. And Shema, I know you're in the participant section. I'm trying to promote you. So if you're like, I don't know if you need to like hit an OK button for that. Okay. Awesome. I see you over here now. Hey, Shema, feel free to introduce yourself.
Can you see me or is it? Sorry.
Oh no, you're all good. Can you turn your camera on?
Okay, hold on. Just give me a minute. Wait. Oh, okay. Okay. I got it. Is this good?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, okay.
Shema, do you want to introduce yourself and provide a visual or an audio description?
Okay. So my name is Shema Anadish. I go by I'm an Arab Muslim girl. I'm wearing a black hijab. I have a like white wall behind me, and I have glasses and braces. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, my group, we worked on the high school data research findings. And yeah. So our research question was, how do we get high schoolers to prepare for civic engagement? And we were thinking, you know, for classes, many high school classes don't give high schoolers enough classes for them. So they're not properly educated on it, and they don't know anything about like local elections or their poll sites or how to even register to vote. Next one.
So yeah, we with our survey responses, we found that about 1/3 of our respondents says yes, they had been exposed to civics and government in high school, but only about 38.1% knew where their nearest poll site was. And we also found that only 52.4% didn't know where to find information about participating in local government. And finally, our last pie chart shows that of the respondents that were 16 or older, only about only about 42.9% of them were pre-registered.
Our responses from the survey are very similar to what our expert says. We interviewed many experts such as Jenna, the director of Civics for All. Jenna works with high schoolers and educates them about civic engagement. In the interview, she tells us that the reason why students don't learn about civics engagement is because in state, civics teaching is not required. So why would teachers add another curriculum to their class? The only thing high schoolers do have that is somewhat engaged in this topic is the government course that 12th graders get for only half a year. And even with that class, principals have the option to take out or incorporate civics engagement into the curriculum.
We have also took surveys. Can you go back, please? That was like the survey for, yeah, this one. Thank you. So this was, we took surveys for high schoolers and what they were saying. And so one of the codes says that programs that from a 17-year-old, that programs that encourage the citizens to vote or simply inform them would be a huge step to voting. Another person says that who's a 15-year-old, I don't feel like I'm properly informed, mainly due to the voter suspension that happens in people of color neighborhoods. So we have noticed that a lot of the people who are POC or aren't able to get the main properly informed as white people are. And a 16-year-old said, I appreciate all the opportunities my school offers. However, there are many things that school across the nation fail to address. So, and lastly, a 13-year-old says that Resources regarding where to vote, along with information on said leaders, could be helpful becoming more civically engaged. So we have seen various answers starting from 13-year-old up to 17-year-olds based on this the surveys we did.
My bad. I accidentally thought that the survey quotes were it said experts quotes. Should I just say represent the slide again?
Do you need me to go back, Shema?
No,
No, I
like
think,
remember when I was talking before,
No.
Redwana, I accidentally thought that it said survey quotes instead of expert quotes.
It's
So
okay. We can just keep it moving.
you can just present these quotes, Shema.
okay. Oh, okay. So for example, like Jenna, the director of Civics for All, she said that schools have to teach global history. That's the only thing that they have to do. So you can take the Regents exam at the end of 10th grade. They don't have to teach civics. It's not one of the things that the state requires, which is why teachers don't, teach it, because why would they add another curriculum to their class if they don't have to? Why do extra work? She also says the state requires in 12th grade that the participation in a government course that seniors take for half a year. That's the only thing that civics were required. Principals get to decide if they want teachers to incorporate civics into their teaching. And she also says Civics for All doesn't have a curriculum mandate. The city doesn't say every school in the New York City needs to teach this specific curriculum.
Okay, so as for what the youth wants, reading a lot of the answers that we received from the surveys, a lot of them just want to be more engaged in their local government and really just understand how it works. Not just that, but also receiving information about how to vote, where their poll site is, because at the end of the day, when the time comes that they are able to vote, they don't know what to do. So of course, having civic programs in their school are helpful, but a specific 18-year-old said that they would like flyers, events, virtual internships, like NYC votes, meetings that can let them become more civically engaged. A lot of people also said that they would like to be a part of programs that are ran by young people, because when you have that interaction with each other, not only are you guys able to come together with new ideas, but you're also able to engage each other. And I think that's what's so great about the program that we're in now. It's a bunch of young people and we all have great ideas that we share with each other. A 15-year-old said, it's not like they can't lead us, but their past is no longer our future, which is why it comes to change young people and they need to take action. So we're basically the ones who are going to have to take action in the future. So I think it's only best that we try to engage in any way that we can.
So as our presentation is coming to a close, we just want to leave you all with a quote by Sam Altman. Young people willing to push hard to make something happen are among the most powerful forces in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our high school's group. That was truly, truly amazing. So now we're going to move in to start hearing some testimony. And our first three speakers up are Knowledge Westbrooks, Anissa Thomas, and Raylan Lee. Knowledge, are you? I know you might be under OBs. Knowledge, are you here? Okay, let's go ahead. Oh. Awesome. I see that you're under OBs. I'm promoting you to a panelist. Awesome. Knowledge, the floor is yours.
Hello everybody. My name is Knowledge Westbrooks. I'm a public safety organizer supervisor at Red Hook Initiative. But that's just my intro. Would you guys mind like pushing me to like the last person to speak because I'm trying to connect my laptop to some power so I don't die out of the meeting. If that's okay.
Oh yeah, of course, Knowledge. We can move you to the end. We'll pass it over to Anissa then, and then Raylan.
All right, thank you.
Anissa, feel free. I know you're getting settled, but we'll go Anissa and then Raylan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, again, my name is Anissa Thomas. I'm 18 years old. My pronouns are she, her, and I live within South Ozone Park of Queens. I'm wearing a dark blue dress. I have a pink background and I have short curly hair. And today I just wanted to discuss with everyone that within South Ozone Park, it is a bonded community filled with minorities, and we want to elevate and support the development of our neighbors, family, and friends. We communicate and connect in the area formed from churches, block parties, and other social gatherings. And as people shared their views and beliefs, there came the regard for neighborhood advancement. South Ozone Park has seen its share of gun violence, drug abuse, and homelessness, that citizens wanted to use their power of voting to prosper the area. My grandfather, a long-lasting father figure within the community, formed the Sutter Avenue Block Party Association to diminish their worries, but still convey the people the importance of change. The correct way to implement change was through voting, but there were many limitations put into effect. There was a struggle to fully understand candidates' objectives since information was scattered and misleading. It was consuming to try and find accurate claims when there were few resources placed. There needed to be resources which gave accurate information on candidate roles and obligations. 2, the community. With people further understanding their candidates, it would make it easier to vote. To spread awareness, it would help to place these resources in local environments like barbershops, churches, delis, and incorporate voting bans. People want to fix the area, but with little resources, it was tedious to pick a candidate, so many chose to vote in major elections. With fewer citizens voting in all elections due to lack of resources, it leaves no one caring for the area. People who do vote undermine the importance of their candidate, and it leaves upcoming elections very unpurposeful, and for youth with instability. There should be ongoing conversations about the importance of voting within my area, since a great portion of the people I know are immigrants and feel their vote doesn't matter. Plus, individuals who are non-citizens don't fully understand their voting rights, so it would be beneficial to provide them with sufficient information. Also, elections should have proper access that is quick and easy, since there are other issues that need to be accounted for. Voting can provide change, but overwhelmed and crowded sites only lessen voters. There should be more polling sites at community centers, churches, and drive-through voting. There should even be more accessibility to the NYC Votes website, so people are aware of all the voting sites in their area. Voting seems to be an option and not a necessity due to the fact that mentally people can't see the change. There should be connections that generate outreach about voting. This can happen by using local stores and businesses to understand dilemmas and thinking process. One-on-one discussions with voting resources on candidates, polling sites, non-citizens, and immigrant voting rights are all beneficial. And through these techniques, there will be expansion in voting throughout my area. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Anissa. We really appreciate it. Okay, so next up, we're going to hear from Raylan Lee. Raylan, feel free to take it away.
Hi all, my name is wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Raylan.
My name is Raylan Lee. I'm 15. I go by any pronouns and I live in Lower Manhattan, Chinatown. I'm currently wearing a blue shirt. I'm in a bedroom setting and I'm a Chinese person. I only recently started getting involved with local politics and canvassing, but with the few months of experience that I have, I've already noticed so much voter suppression that disguises itself and hides in white privilege. There are many ways voter suppression is seen in my community. In Chinatown, as of 2019, 32.8% of the population identifies as Asian and 30.3% identifies as white. There is a clear trend of gentrification as seen in skyrocketing rent and lack of services to protect the Asian population in a neighborhood built by and named after its Asian community. Electoral candidates will usually do what they believe will help the community, and the lack of voting resources to help marginalized community will be hazardous because elections will not reflect the districts as a whole, but instead will reflect a part of the communities that have the resources necessary to promote voting. There have been canvassing experiences where people can leave their apartments for many reasons, such as mobility issues and concerns over safety. And there were many people who don't have access to the internet, so they don't know when and where to vote. With the recent redistricting and changes in primary dates, increasing access to voting resources and services is even more crucial than before in order to get accurate electoral results. Expanded services can be seen in many ways. Many New Yorkers are immigrants and many immigrants are voters. However, many immigrants also don't understand English. Language services and increased outreach can greatly increase voter turnout and make elections more fair, and results can be determined more democratically. Increasing outreach and letting voters of all age groups and identities know election dates, where they can vote, and even just why their vote matters can also increase voter turnout because many more voters feel more comfortable and obligated to cast their votes knowing that they'll be heard in one way or another. Voting is one of the biggest forms of power that the people have in determining the future of themselves, the people around them, and the people that will come, which is why there needs to be policy changes to increase voter resources and services for under-resourced communities.
Thank you so much, Raylan. That was so powerful. Thank you for sharing your perspective with us. I'm now going to go ahead and pass it over to our ambassadors who research the voting habits of college students. Omar, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I can spotlight the ASL interpreter and the speakers, if that's okay with you.
Hi, my name is Sarah and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm wearing a red top. I'm an Asian woman with black hair and I have a white wall behind me. I am so grateful that I got to work with my fellow youth ambassadors on our research project. And our research question was, how does attending college affect the voting habits of young adults from New York? And I think the reason that we chose this topic is because we realized that 18 to 29-year-olds are the lowest voter turnout demographic, and we wanted to see how college students play a role in this demographic and what factors impact them, including education, location, campus dynamics, civic engagement. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Tasneem, who is going to take us through our survey.
Hi everyone, my name is Tasneem. I use she, her pronouns. I am an Arab woman and I'm wearing a brown hijab. Olivia, can you go to the next slide, please? So we wrote a survey and we had a good amount of respondents, and from the survey we were able to conclude that most of the people who filled it out happened to be college freshmen, and about 75% of the responses came from registered voters. What was really cool was that we got responses from all kinds of schools like Hunter College in New York City to the University of Pennsylvania and Georgetown. When we asked students about the level of attention that their respective college or university gives the issue, most respondents claim that their school lacks much support in the voting process. Some of their quotes include, "There is certainly student interest in elections, but not so much coming from the university itself, and they just send an email. They don't really do much other than that." Along with this very obvious lack of support that students receive, students' knowledge of methods on voting are also severely lacking. Despite the fact that most students who filled out this survey happen to originally be from New York City but attend school out of state, their knowledge of absentee absentee voting was almost non-existent. When asked to elaborate on what they know on absentee voting, they said that they have no idea what absentee voting is. And further fueling this lack of political participation is the notion that some students possess that causes them to think that their vote does not matter. Some of their quotes include, "My vote feels significant but not imperative," or "I feel like my vote matters in some elections more than others." This idea of students' votes mattering more in certain elections than others is seen more clearly when we ask students which elections they were more likely to vote in. The overwhelming majority voted presidential elections, leaving local elections no chance to compete.
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm a white, redheaded, curly red hair. I'm in front of some windows and I'm wearing a blue t-shirt and I use she, her pronouns. And so we interviewed a political science and civic engagement specialized professor. And these are some of the key takeaways and some of the knowledge that he was able to share with us. So the main point was that the impact of voting is not stressed enough on campuses. Freshmen, and freshmen are really the most important vote because this is the first time that they're going to be able to vote, and we need to stress the importance of civic engagement for them. The environment on college campuses does not often push students to get out and vote, making peer engagement much more important, which is one of the solutions that we're going to talk about later on in this presentation. And he was able to share with us some barriers to voting on campus, which includes scarcity of information about voting in a new state and lack of a cumulative civics education. Even students studying political science are largely unaware of the details of voting in their districts. And if the political science students are struggling, you can imagine the difficulties that students face when they're not even specializing in this area. And so he mentioned some possible solutions to us, which includes implementing classes like one that he teaches on foundations of inquiry, which he sees great success rates in voter turnout after students take his course. And he also emphasized the importance of local and citywide elections. Sorry, can you go back one slide? Thank you. And so he also emphasized that teaching freshman students, most importantly, which is what I mentioned earlier, as this is their first opportunity to be civically engaged.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Schwartz. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am a Russian Jewish American white woman with curly, dark brown hair. And Sarah and I interviewed the Deputy Director of City Relations at CUNY, and this was more focused on the student body as a whole rather than freshmen, but we learned that according to state law, CUNY campuses provide free voter registration services, including absentee ballots before the school year begins, as well as places to register to vote, and the voting registration slips themselves, the ones that are on paper. We learned also that civic engagement was, like Julia said, student-led, and the Student Senate was responsible for tabling, get out the vote events, debate watch parties, etc. And they worked closely with outside nonprofits such as NYC Votes and the League of Women's Voters. However, she revealed that there were barriers to voting, including scheduling conflicts, and there are no days off for November elections or elections that aren't the primary ones that happen in August. And so even though that there is no school for elementary to high school students in New York City, there is still classes, and students don't want to jeopardize their academic futures by voting for an election that they don't see the immediate benefits of. And possible solutions include events that emphasize the importance of local and citywide elections, as well as legislation that allows students to vote during the school day without academic penalty, not just at CUNY, but at every college campus in New York, whether the students are from New York and they're studying in New York City, or they're New York City students studying out of state.
And so some final suggestions to improve and increase civic engagement on campus for students that study in New York State is increase student-to-student communication like tabling, organized debate watching for midterms, and virtual and in-person hearings just like this one to kind of spread the knowledge and the importance of voting amongst peers who you're most likely to listen to, as well as same-day voter registration options on campus to make it easier and more accessible to register to vote. That way, a barrier isn't that you're not registered to vote even if you want to go on the day of.
And to close the presentation, some quotes from the people we interviewed include, a lot of students who don't vote don't see the value in voting. And it's important to emphasize the scale of local elections by offering a rundown of what candidates stand for and the issues on the ballot that these candidates, that relate to the candidates, whether it's local or citywide or even midterms.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our college group. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pass it over to our next group of testifiers. So we are going to hear from Faith Anderson and Julia Petty. Faith, you can go ahead and share. Hey, Faith, I see you. You're good to present. You're on mute.
Okay. Okay, hi. My name is Faith Anderson. I'm an African-American woman. I have a kitchen setting behind me. First of all, I want to thank NYC Votes for allowing me to come onto the space and speaking my piece, and also Olivia for bringing this opportunity to my attention. As I said before, I'm with Faith. I am 19 years old. I go to Kingsborough Community College, and I'm also a part of the public safety team at RHI. Like many other people my age, I was never really one to care about voting in the local government because I always felt like it was either choosing the pot or the kettle. Either one to me, nothing was going to change. In high school, I was never really taught about voting. NYC schools don't really teach about voting in local government, more like the structure of the government. And civics isn't really a class that's really taught as much in NYC schools. My introduction to the local government and voting was working with RHI, a part of the public safety team, and also our voter registration event, which I worked with Olivia with. And I didn't know for so long, and also felt like I was really shocked, about learning about the local government, how important it is, and how much voting is really vital. And I felt like, how didn't I notice for so long? And like it was like a system that was like withholding me for this information, because I felt like there's a lot of opportunities for me to know about voting and local government, but it was never brought up. And also thinking about like other people and like other people my age who haven't gotten the opportunity to know about this stuff, to know about voting and local government and all that stuff, and how important it is. It's a known fact that marginalized communities voting in marginalized communities voting is lower. So like for youth, it would be even lower as well. So it's really necessary for organizations like NYC Vote, and to partner with schools and youth programs to teach them about voting and why the local government matters, to understand the policies that affect our learning and our resources. Thank you.
Can everyone who's but the speaker mute themselves? Thank you.
Awesome. Faith, thank you so much for sharing that amazing testimony. Red Hook Initiative has been a key partner of ours over the last year and a half, and we are incredibly grateful for them. And then Julia Petty, I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, hey, so I'm Julia. Just to give a quick description of myself, I am tan. I'm a Black, I wouldn't say woman because I'm only 16, so I would say teenager. I have 8 cornrows going straight back, and I have gold beads on the bottom of it, and I have on a black t-shirt. And as you can see, I have a poster in the background, and and everything else is white. So because my laptop was acting up, I'm going to read my poem off my phone. So I'm going to turn off my camera for a couple minutes, but I'm going to come back and elaborate on it a little more. Well, I don't know if it stays on or not, because I don't know. But how do you want us to vote, but all of our men are getting locked up? We too busy trying to keep our cabinets all stocked up. I started to notice some things once I hit the 7th grade. When you can't even pass your classes throughout the day, why would anybody really care about what you have to say? Most politicians just working in their own interest. Democrat or Republican, it don't make no difference. They on the same side and still y'all can't see. Most of them, in all honesty, are just blinded by greed, voting on sweet nothings. Is this who we want to be? And I don't really know what to do or how to fix it, but pay attention, because if you blink, you might miss it, because what I'm about to say is gonna hold some weight. Red line and segregation still exists to this day. I knew 12-year-olds that couldn't even read, and the only thing that made them different, they had skin like me. But look at all the things that we tend to feed our kids. Fast food and quick meals the only way to live, and yet we have smoke shops across the street from elementary schools. That's when they start to show interest because they think it's cool. And even if we have one, we can't afford Whole Foods, not to mention how they keep raising up all the rent, fixing up the projects, trying to hide their true intent. The people that are for the people don't before us at all. Put our hopes up high just to see how hard we fall, killing our body and mind, and none of them can seem to find the time to care. So to elaborate a little bit more about some of the stuff I said, so a lot of the men in my neighborhood tend to have felonies and different like charges that prevent them from being able to vote. And that often leads to single mother households and a lot of them having to overwork and not be able to fully give attention to their kids. And the honest truth of the matter is, it's like when I was in middle school, I noticed that like a lot of the 6th graders that came in couldn't read. They couldn't read a novel, like they could read just enough to get by, but they couldn't pass state tests. And them not passing state tests is what basically reduced a lot of the funding from our schools, especially my middle school. And even though they tried to do what they could, a lot of the kids were still very, very undereducated, and voting is not a big thing in my community. We have about like maybe 2 voting sites, and a lot of them are like extremely overpacked. So a lot of the people, they don't really have the time to sit there in a line for 2 hours. And there's also the fact that I can see that gentrification is beginning to happen in my neighborhood. I'm starting to see more and more white people coming in, and a lot of the rent is being raised to like ridiculous amounts for single 1-bedrooms or studio apartments. And it's just a lot of things going on. And it already starts in elementary school, because in the elementary schools, they're so underfunded that they still can't teach the kids. So once they go to middle school, the middle schools can't teach them because they're so far behind. So it just ends up becoming a repetitive cycle of underinformed teenagers who wind up making the same decisions that their fathers or mothers made, and wind up going down a bad path and not being able to even vote or have their voices heard once they actually try to change their lives. So I think that it's a much, much bigger systemic issue that leads to lower voting rates in minority communities. And I think that's like the biggest problem I would say that I'm seeing right now, especially in my community at least.
Julia, thank you so much for sharing your art with us, and sharing your thoughts and feelings. That was so well said and so moving. So now we're gonna go ahead and go into 2 ambassador presentations. First, we're going to hear from the group who researched voters with limited English proficiency, and then we're going to hear from a group that looked into some of the city-only voting policies and how that might affect immigrant communities. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to pass it over to Tahira, Sarah, Danny, and Raylise, who are going to present on limited English proficiency voters. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Sarah Ismail. I go by she, her pronouns. I am a young Black woman with black hair slicked back into a bun. I'm wearing a beige shirt and I have a white background. And so our group researched limited English proficient voters, and I'll pass it on to the rest of my group to introduce themselves.
Um, you passed it to me. I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Go for it, Rayleigh. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Rayleigh. My name is Rayleigh Days. I come from New York, in the Bronx, and I'm in my living room. I have long black curly hair, yellow shirt. I'm in my living room, and I'm here to present for the LEP program, or for I'm here to present for the LEP program, or limited English deficiency in a place like New York, in a many diversities and cultures and different language speaking in this state. New York and like many other states have hardworking, different speaking languages people who have served and lived in this state for many years and have developed their own different political views. Today we are here to shine light on struggles that LEP voters and their families may face at times when they want to speak out their political views. How can we also better and make it more accessible for different speaking languages and make them more comfortable to share their political views and votes? I'm gonna pass it right to Tahira. Thank you.
Yeah, Olivia, could you go back to the last slide? Yeah, before I start, I'd like to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tahira Tariq, and I use the pronouns she, her, and I am a young woman, South Asian woman, and I am wearing a purple hijab with a white top and purple flowers. And I'm just going to take off from where Rayleigh's left off, and I'm going to say the research question. What are some barriers to voting that LEP voters and their families face?
Hi everyone, my name is Danny Hernandez, and I use he, him, his pronoun, and I am a young male of Hispanic origin. I am currently wearing a black crew neck with, in front of me or behind me is a white background with some paintings in the background, and I have dark brown hair. So for our interviews, we conducted both personal and professional interviews to gain insights for our question. In our personal interviews, we asked friends and families if they had any previous voting experience within New York City. And if they did, we asked a series of questions. And some of these questions consisted of, how was their experience like at the polls? Were there enough resources for them? And were there any barriers they faced when voting? A lot of barriers mentioned within our personal interviews were similar to those in our professional interviews. We noticed that limited English proficiency voters stated how there weren't enough translators at the polls and didn't know when voting deadlines were, or who even knew who was running within their community. Through these interviews, I learned organizations such as DUSA or Dominicano USA utilize GOTV events to get local communities civically engaged. Additionally, they also provide citizenship registration workshops for Dominican Americans and voting workshops for the youth. And now I'll pass it over to Sarah for our summary.
Okay, thank you. To sum up key takeaways from our research, we all noticed a lack of general awareness of voting procedures from the LEP family and household members that we interviewed for our personal interviews. There was unfamiliarity I'm sorry, unfamiliarity of candidates and what they were representing, poll site locations, and how to register to vote in general. And these were all due to the language barrier, which made it difficult for voters who didn't have English as their primary language to access this information. And the second thing that came up a lot in my professional interviews was there wasn't enough funding in these like language translating services, which made it difficult to get materials consistently translated in a variety of different languages and dialects. And third, there wasn't enough accessibility in the current translating services we have. Like, for instance, there's not enough languages and dialects available, which ties into my previous point on the lack of funding. And so, based on these takeaways, some recommendations, like as a start for improvement for LEP voters, were just adding more language and dialects to translating services. And a lot of the professionals that I interviewed recommended visual content for voter outreach, like posters, images, videos, and etc. And then as well as like
Oh, Sarah, could you repeat that last sentence you cut out for a second? Sarah, could you repeat that last sentence you cut out for a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Where did I leave off?
The visual resources. We missed that sentence.
Oh, so I was just saying that a lot of the professionals I interviewed recommended visual content for voter outreach, like posters with images and videos for accessibility. And then I also said that increasing funding would be a recommendation.
Very good. Thank you so much to our group who researched limited English proficiency voters. I'm now going to pass it over to Sophie and Zara, who did some research on the city-only voting.
Hi everyone, my name is Zara. I have a white background and I'm a South Asian woman, and our presentation is about city-only voting. So let's get started. Let's go to the next slide.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Winfield-Poost. I use she, her pronouns. I am behind me is a white wall. I'm wearing a purple shirt and I have brown hair. So our focus question for this project was, how will the upcoming legislation impact non-citizens' sense of empowerment in their community? When we refer to upcoming legislation, we mean Intro 1867, or the Our City, Our Vote bill, which would basically allow non-citizens to vote in municipal elections in the city.
Thank you. So why did we choose our question? So non-citizen voting is a complex topic, and this includes like barriers and drivers. And these barriers and drivers pose major challenges that we want to focus in on the challenges for non-citizens and their feelings about voting. So our research helped us conduct and better understand how and what pushes this group of individuals to make a difference in these marginalized communities. And this question allowed our research to be conducted on many levels. And this research may help our understanding in the thought process of voters, which is our main objective in our research.
Right, so we interviewed Salma Mahmood from the Arab American Family Support Center, and her interview focused a lot on the barriers that would make non-citizens face resistance when they go out to vote if the law is implemented, which would include lack of English proficiency, a lack of knowledge about the US political system, and a lack of trust. But she also did provide very valuable recommendations for organizations doing outreach like New York City Votes, which would mobilize non-citizen voters to the polls. And how they would do that would be to rely on existing connections within the communities where potential voters already live and feel security and trust in their institutions. But when doing this outreach, it was important, which is something she emphasized, to prioritize linguistic and cultural competence in those doing the outreach, while also recognizing the systemic barriers posed for many marginalized communities that non-citizens are likely to live in.
So as Sophie mentioned, non-citizen voting does pose challenges because of its barriers. And however, our interview showed great support for civic engagement and how it would impact their communities as they are taxpaying members of society. And so there were some barriers to this, as many of our interviewees asked about online voting services, as they didn't understand the political system of the United States and New York, and had a severe lack of knowledge in this. And this can also be tied back to LEP, or limited English proficiency, because they truly don't understand how it works. So they don't think they should vote if they don't understand. And so with that being said, our major focus was that there needs to be more information about the various aspects of voting, such as voter dates, or especially accessible voting, which is a key focus in city-only voting. Thank you.
I think a large part of what we found in our personal interviews was that there was no shortage of desire from non-citizens for change in their communities, and that past voting doesn't only give a person autonomy, but it also makes them empowered and makes them feel integrated into their communities. So even though the scope of change that non-citizen voting may give communities, the benefits for non-citizens would be pretty much boundless.
Right. So just a quick statement before I read the quote. So we gathered the general consensus that there definitely needs to be more information about accessible voting, because it's not that they don't want to vote, they just don't know how to vote. So our last segment is that, here's our quote from one of our personal interviews. Of course, it can bring changes, so many changes. And if I pick a candidate that I pick for the community and I vote for him, and if he gets elected, I know that he will bring good changes to the community, and he's publicly representing us, so he can bring good changes to the community. Aliha, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for that research. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next group of testifiers. So we're going to hear from Caitlin Mui, Kiana Harrison, Delana Bourne, and then Knowledge Westbrooks. And then we'll have one more presentation and we will close out for the evening. So Caitlin, feel free to take it away.
Hi there, my name is Caitlin. I'm a young Chinese American woman with black hair, glasses, and I'm currently wearing a white shirt. My background is my white closet and the pink walls surrounding it, and I also use she, her pronouns. Today, I'm joining you as a member of the Minkwon Center for Community Action, a nonprofit based in Queens dedicated to educating and serving the immigrant community. Here at the Minkwon Center, we've been fighting for over a decade to help grant immigrants with legal status the right to vote in New York City local elections. And in December of 2021, the bill Our City, Our Vote, commonly referred to as OCOV, was passed, granting individuals with green cards, TPS, work authorization, and DACA the right to vote in New York City local elections. However, shortly after OCOV was passed, by the New York City Council, it was challenged and unfortunately deemed unconstitutional. As a part of the, so now numerous organizations are back in court trying to appeal this decision and are fighting to restore immigrant voting rights in New York City. As it stands, there's no federal or state law which explicitly prohibits New York City from expanding voting rights to immigrants and granting immigrants the right to vote in New York City or all of America has existed for the first 150 years of American history. And it was only in the 20th century that voting rights for immigrants later became repealed. As a part of the APA Voice Coalition, we at Minkwon have also been doing outreach the past couple of weeks, informing individuals about the status of OCOV and also having them sign pledge cards, which we've gathered almost 300 in the short duration of time. OCOV has the power to uplift so many immigrant voices in our community and make nearly 1 million eligible new voters who have been constantly ignored and left out of the conversation for far too long. Immigrants play a vital role in our community, and it's time we give them a say in our local democracy. I urge you all to keep up to date with news surrounding OCOV and keep your communities informed, as we cannot allow opponents of OCOV to be confused about the status. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Again, One Center is a great partner of ours, and we're very happy to have you here today. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Kiana Harrison. Kiana, if you are here, feel free to take it away. Okay, I do not see Kiana, so we're going to go ahead and
in
pass
the
it.
audience, Olivia. So
Oh.
Can just give them a second to come up with this.
Hello.
Hey, Kiana.
Hello. I'm sorry, I wasn't a panelist.
Oh.
My background is so bad. Sorry. Anyway, my name is Kiana, right? And my background at Blue LED Lights. I'm an African American girl. I have a black sweatshirt. I have like kind of purple walls. It's kind of hard to see right now, but yeah. And I'm 15 and I go by she, her. So pretty much my friend, she sent me a link that I pretty much had to testify or give my ideas about the voting and my pretty much my thoughts on voting right now. I feel like voting right now is kind of very much overseen and it's not participated as much. And we already saw how that turned up because the election of Trump back in I think 2018, we already saw that was one of the results of people not taking voting seriously. A lot of people who didn't vote are people of color, specifically our young people, that we didn't take it seriously enough. And I find that voting isn't really stressed enough or taught enough in classes. We often get classes about stuff that doesn't even help us in life. Like we don't get classes on how to pay taxes, how to find a house, how our social credit and our credit in general impacts our lives. I feel like young people need that the most. And I feel that something we need the most is also self-representation from young people in general. Because it's hard to get people say if you're like a Gen X out of their ways because they already lived through life. Their yesterday is not our today. And that's why it's hard for them to really we can't really ask for promotion from them because their views are not going to be the same as ours. We need to try and uplift ourselves and see that, hey, that today we have to know that what happening today is not okay. All this stigmas that are happening today, all the gentrification, the sexual misconduct, how lenient that we are, especially our generation with birth, is not okay. They even took out our rights as women for abortion is very horrible, which is why voting is important, especially right now, because the politicians that we have in government are not for us. Even if they're for us in our own community, the biggest ones are not for us, which is why our rights were able to be taken away and stripped of us so easily. And I can already predict that something else like this is going to happen. Either it's going to be a next shooting or another government thing where another group of people's rights are going to be disregarded. It's going to be taken away. And the only people who have the right to change that is us. And that's why we need to start getting out in there, learning about things they won't tell us. We need to start voting for ourselves and these public roles. As soon as we're old enough, we need to get in there, take all these politicians out because they're going to die at some point. But we need to be able to go in there and start reform because we don't want the tradition of these things happening to keep going on because we don't want the people that are younger than us to come to the world and they live through what we're going through now. So yeah.
Thank you so very much, Kiana. For our last two testifiers of the evening, we're going to hear from Delana Bourne and then Knowledge Westbrook. So Delana, feel free to share your statement. Delana, are you here? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Knowledge first, and then Delana, if you're here, you can go after him. So Knowledge, feel free to share with us.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Knowledge. I'm a public safety organizer supervisor with Red Hook Initiative again. Let me try to turn my video on. I'm a tenant at NYC. I'm supposed to describe my background setting. I have like a semi-unorganized bed setting behind me. I'm in my bedroom. I'm a Black young man with brown dreads. I'm 24 years old. And I've been speaking with Olivia. We Vote NYC does trainings with my group at Red Hook Initiative. And we've been speaking about the voting turnout crisis that's been going on, especially with younger people in New York specifically, but just around the country. From my research, I've found out a lot of things. I realized that internationally, older sitting.
I'm sorry, Knowledge. Can you lower the camera so it's faced on your face? We want to hear all the amazing things you're saying.
I'll try. Hold on. Better. Yeah. So I found out that internationally, older citizens vote more than the youth. In the U.S. specifically, is considered like a young country with with our such fast-paced reproduction, like without any limits. American elections are usually catered to older folks because of that. The number one reason for voting usually is like for us to be pursuing our like civic duties. People that like in my neighborhood of Red Hook, and I live within NYC, so like sometimes that civic duty option for us doesn't really resonate because oftentimes we believe that we're providing a civic duty to a government that doesn't give that to us in return. The civic duties to, whether it be safety, the civic duties to controlling our poverty level, and our civic duties to making sure that education is even and distributed properly. Also, members of my community feel like oftentimes we're unrepresented in law and updates and abolishments of laws and stuff like that. Like sometimes policy and laws that we need are taken away from us, and this gives us a big sense of doubt within government structures because we feel like things are taken away from us so much to the point where a lot of people choose not to get involved within the voting process because they feel like their vote doesn't hold any power, if you will. I can give an example, like there's often updates to legislations that don't benefit the entire population. Like cannabis and marijuana law reforms were made to provide like a capitalistic purge to the cannabis business that was already doing well. It was like an underground operation for marginalized communities. And recently, US has a big push on legalizing it because it would be like a monetary benefit to the government. And they're not considering in ways that the flower business or the cannabis growth business were helping communities grow and flourish. Basically disenfranchising marginalized groups through legislation reforms. And that kind of hurts our vision on like voting because we can never like get a spot. I do have like an idea about how we can like fix voting turnout. I believe that the candidates that are running for office should provide some way of like immediate recovery or like immediate assistance. Because through like my experience, I was doing some voter registration at our in-person events at RHI, and we were trying to connect with some people in the neighborhood, and they just explained to me about how so many times they spoke to elected officials and none of their problems were even considered or fixed in a timely manner or anything like that. So even though we would have like new representatives that will be pushing new initiatives that are positive for the community, oftentimes some people just have that mindset already in their head, and it causes like a friction between getting them to start voting and start taking their civic duties seriously. Yeah, I just feel like giving some immediate relief through these campaigns will like replace the disbelief in our broken system with faith in our like able leaders. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Knowledge, thank you so much for sharing with us. And again, it's been a pleasure working with you over the last year or so. And last but not least, Delana, if you are here, we can pass it over to you. Okay, last call. All right, okay.
Hey, Olivia, is there another person who's going before Delana, or is she the last person?
She's the last person.
Oh, I was gonna say, maybe I can call her real quick and check it. Maybe it's a Wi-Fi issue.
Okay, cool. We're gonna have one more presentation. And if she is available after the presentation, she can testify. Cool, thank you, Obi. Okay, last but not least, we're gonna hear from one more research group of the ambassadors. Our transportation group is going to share some of the research they did. Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so I will pass it over to Joseph Morales, Tiffany Nieto, Princess Ahunamba, and Emily Romano to share the wonderful research they've done with us.
Can you guys hear me? Wait.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. But we are the transportation group, and we wanted to focus on transportation and how transportation affects the voting process, which we will dive into and you'll hear more about. So now I'll pass it to Tiffany for the next, or Emily, one of them.
Hello, my name is Emily Romano. I go by she, they. I am Hispanic. I have a black shirt on. I have black hair and a slick ponytail, and my room is white, and I have a purple bed next to me. So public transportation is a key proponent to getting majority of New Yorkers where they need to be every day. Though it is a key proponent, many New Yorkers struggle with inadequate access to public transportation. And due to public transportation disparities and certain neighborhoods having more or less public transit barriers and availability, we wanted to see if transportation barriers play a role in voting in New York City. So if a neighborhood has constant train delays, track work, or stops are just too far from their community or other things getting in the way of their transportation, then they may have a different voter turnout than people who have a public transit that is efficiently working at all times and is just accessible quickly. So my group and I came up with the question, how does transportation barriers affect one's ability to vote in New York City? And I will pass it to Joseph.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Morales. I use he, him pronouns. Basically, throughout our interviews with transportation experts in the field, we spoke with Danny Perlstein of the Writers Alliance and Cecilia Ellis of the NYPIRG Strap Hangers campaign. We basically found that most transportation barriers to voting are transportation issues that exist in New York City, are pretty much the enduring transportation issues in New York City. Think slow bus service. If you're thinking about safety issues, you might want to roll with unsafe street design, which makes crossing streets dangerous for pedestrians in some cases. Just things like that. We also found that a lot of people can't afford Metro cards, and while there is the Fair Fares program and other interventions put in place, it's still not enough to ensure that every socioeconomic class in New York City has equitable access to transportation. We found in our survey that most people do walk to their poll sites. However, occasionally people have to take a bus or a train if their poll site is either too far or if they have to go to their poll sites from work or from another activity. I will now pass it over to Tiffany with the takeaways.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Tiffany. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a young Hispanic woman. So some takeaways from the interview and the survey is that it becomes clear that the reason why people no longer vote and no longer trust the NYC government is because NYC don't hear their demands. There's many communities that have limited transportation access and are actually demanding for a change. However, NYC ignores it and keeps oppressing those people who already feel like their rights are being violated. So they fear that if they hear those communities' demands, people will like gain self-empowerment and become more aware of the injustices they face. And seeing the low transportation accessibility and the poor quality of life they receive, people tend to question the power of voting and often feel disconnected from the NYC government. If we want people to trust us again, we should start by taking actions in terms of transportation, by like improving bus service, which could be like bus lanes and busways, transit signal priority, which also like can like improve in terms of people that suffer disabilities, because they usually feel kind of like ignored or like they don't have any like power in terms of transportation. Also improving pedestrian safety, like making streets safer, adding pedestrian islands to reduce long crossings, adding turning bays for safer turns, using more of like NYC budget to improve subway and bus lines that are reliable and consistently face delays, for example, like the A and C and N. So all those like 275 or like 550 that we pay to get a Metro card, we could actually like use it to improve transportation, which is like part of our public services. Distributing free Metro cards or discounted fees on ride shares to New Yorkers in need. During our research, we noticed that one of the concerns that limit people to vote is the cost of Metro cards or having to pay extra money to get to their poll site. But also like we have to like create a bus or a subway showing poll sites in correlation to bus W to make it more easier for people to have access to a poll site.
Excellent. Thank you so much to our transit group. So we have come to the end of our evening. I want to again just express undying gratitude to CFB staff, to the VAAC, and also to my ambassadors and to our testifiers. Again, thank you so much for just sharing your time with us this evening. And again, I'll pass it over to Zoilo or Amy or any other members if there's anyone who wants to leave some closing remarks.
So Zoilo, do you have any? I mean, I'll say that, thank you, all of you, all the ambassadors, all the young people who testified, incredible work in identifying issues and presenting some solutions to those issues. And, thank you everyone who shared their art, because that is important, to hear what people, a way to really hear how people feel. And, these hearings every year are really encouraging to know that young people really do care about the future of our city, and as much as we old people do. and really you are the future, and so I really am happy, really pleased by all of the presentations and really encouraged by your involvement. And I hope you don't stop here, that you keep sharing your dedication to the city of New York with your friends and family and the people in your communities from this day forward.
Zoilo or Christopher, did either of you want to leave any remarks?
I would echo Amy's comments, and I would like to add that I've attended maybe one or two, possibly three hearings, and each time I walk away with an enormous amount of information and clarity on issues. I will advocate for taking these testimonies and this research and these recommendations and summarizing them in some form so that we can pass it on to people who have the decision-making power to make the reforms necessary to increase and broaden the voter participation in the city of New York. So with that, I would also like to close and wish everybody a good evening and be well and be safe. Should we be signing off now?
Oh, Amy, you're muted.
Matt will take care of ending the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thanks everybody for attending. Can
Thank you.
Thank you.
go ahead and sign off. Bye-bye.
Bye.